Hi, welcome to Cloud Cover. My name is Ryan Dunn.
And I'm Steve Marks.
You might have noticed this gentleman here on my right, Steve's right, your left. This is David Robinson. He is a PM on the SQL Azure team. Now we're going to get to David in a while, but he's come here to tell us all about SQL Azure, about the wonders and the magic of relational databases in the cloud.
Databases, they rock. They really do.
In the cloud, no less.
I've heard of those.
Yes, indeed. It's better than Excel in a lot of ways.
It's much better.
Now, before we get to that, as I said, we're going to cover the news as always. And with that, let's kick it off, Steve.
All right, so first up on the news, we have a blog post that's on the Windows Azure team blog, and it is about improvements we're making to DNS in Windows Azure. So specifically, we're going to make it faster. So you type in something.cloudapp.net, or you type in your custom domain, which is mapped to something.cloudapp.net, and it's going to resolve faster all around the globe because there's more distributed system, it's more reliable, runs faster. This is all happening October 5th at midnight. I don't actually know if that means October 4th.
And there's no outage for this,
October 5th or whatever. No, there's no, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen. The one gotcha that's in this post, if you look at it, is that because this new system is really distributed and whatever, it actually takes a little bit of time for the domain names to propagate.
Right.
And if you try to resolve the name before it's been created,
oh, it'll cache it.
you will then you'll fail to get the domain, and that's just for a minute or so while it propagates. But your machine may cache that for like 15 minutes.
What if you did ipconfig/flush DNS?
That would probably fix it, but I have no idea.
Or try rebooting your machine.
But you probably won't notice this because most of the time you'll be deploying some new application, and that's when the domain name is getting registered. And the amount of time it takes to spin up the app is probably longer than the couple minutes it takes for the DNS to propagate. So most of the time you won't see this. Where you might see this is if you deployed a staging first and there's nothing in production yet, you've never deployed to production. That means that DNS entry isn't there yet. So if you swap from staging, well, if you promote from staging to production, when there wasn't anything there before, and then you immediately just click and try to resolve that thing, that might not work.
At midnight. Only at midnight, though.
After October 5th?
No, anytime after October 5th, there's going to be this propagation problem. Right. So any new DNS thing you create after October 5th, you'll see this propagation.
But really the value here is for folks in the Far East and other countries, other than the U.S., so our DNS is now distributed, so those lookups will happen a lot quicker.
Yep. So overall, this is really goodness, but there's that one, if you just all of a sudden notice, hey, it's weird, I could try to go to the thing and I get this DNS problem. It's probably because there's this delay that's getting introduced with this.
So don't try to redeploy. That's the
don't try to redeploy. Actually, the real thing is after you do this swap or something into production, just wait a couple minutes because the problem is really if you click it too soon, then you cache this bad result. So if you wait a minute or so, you'll be fine. Anyway, most people, the normal flow, I think, of the way people deploy, most people will never even notice this delay. What they will notice is that everything resolves faster. So better performance for all.
That's great. All right. This is from Rob.
I feel like now Rob has us.
He has a guest spot on the show.
He can just, if he just published a new part every week, we're not going to stop. I mean, if he gets to part 35, we're still going to every week cover the new part.
Well, we're pretty sure there's 11 parts. One click higher than 10.
About this already.
One click higher than 10. I already talked to Rob. I said you got to do 11.
Yeah. All right. Fine. So.
So this is more about throughput in Windows Azure storage.
What's in this one? More pretty graphs.
Graphs.
Right? That's all I want.
Basically, there's graphs.
This one's like kind of 3D.
Yeah.
The other ones were flatter.
If you there's even better. There's not even all bar charts. There's some other ones as well.
Keep that's kind of cool.
There we go.
Histogram.
Histograms. Anything that has a histogram you can trust. I've learned that. What's my favorite color? Histogram.
Yeah.
So with this, in deep knowledge of our transfer rates within Windows Azure, and he actually does mention you in here. He says something about your pseudocode.
Oh, look at this.
For releasing the hounds.
Steve Marks' pseudocode. Wade's words, not mine. This is because I gave Wade a hard time because he called it pseudocode, but his actual working code. So I left a comment and I was just like, Wade, what are you
talking about?
what don't you like about my code? So that's what I think this little pseudocode in quotes is sort of an acknowledgement of that.
Yeah. So Wade the Claw Wegner had a release the hounds approach, which used the service bus, and you had a blob storage. File approach. But anyhow, go read this post. There's tons of detail in here, and we're looking forward to the next 8 parts.
Yes, we are. I sure hope there aren't 8 more parts. I mean, I like it a lot, but 11 seems excessive.
No,
I think you should stop at 10 so I win the bet. Okay. What is next? I like this post because it has. Well, I like this post. I like this post because of the nice pictures.
I like the
this
post.
grabbing the cloud. I know why you like the post, Ryan.
Because
You
it's a
like it because it starts and says this blog post is the first in a series of 11.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually say 11, but it's implied.
Yeah. We're going to have to contact Daniel, make sure he goes at least to 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, EPI server CMS. People ask all the time, can you get CMS to run in the
Yep.
cloud?
What CMS works? What should I use?
Yep.
Well, here is one of the options.
Now, he does caveat
post all
this
that.
saying it's not production, yada, 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 but he's just playing as experimental.
That said, let's rock and roll.
Yeah. Once he starts rocking and rolling here in this post, though, it gets pretty hardcore. There's part 2 already. This is part 1.
Yeah. This is already the links to the series.
Yep.
So there are only going to be 4. Look, it's already planned out. That's it. There aren't going to be 11.
Well, you never know.
If part 4 is final thoughts about it, and then what's part 5 through 11 going to be?
It's a recap of the first 4 parts again.
Yeah, sure. Right. Parts 1 through 4 revisited a couple times.
Did you guys notice the database?
Did I notice the
Right there.
database?
Look. What is that?
Access.
SQL
Azure.
SQL
Get outta
Azure.
What
here.
is that? That's not a real thing, is it? I don't know. We'll find out.
I
We'll
can
find
leave.
out later.
I can leave. If you
We
guys-
got one more piece of news, then we're going to ask David if SQL Azure actually exists.
Yes.
That's why we have him here.
So over in the UK, there's a guy named Don. I'm going to go Sime. It could be Sime,
Sure.
depending on what
Sime?
pronunciation.
Sime.
Sime.
Seam?
Seam.
Don Sime. I'm going to go Don Sime.
Sami.
Okay. Well, he is an F-sharp guy who I believe is actually the architect for the language. He's like the Anders of F-sharp. Anders being the person who actually invented
C sharp.
J-sharp.
J sharp.
Wow.
Kidding.
Wow.
So anyhow, now, I'm kidding, come
You've
on.
made a powerful enemy.
So now there's a video out here from David Gristwood, who is one of the evangelists out in the UK, and he was out of the Reading office. What they have here is a presentation series. Now there's 4 of them, not 11.
Yeah, I know you're
I
probably
know,
disappointed.
I'm a
in
little
that.
disappointed. We could chop them up.
And I noticed that here we've brought up number 3 of 4.
Well, that's
Is there
because
any reason for that?
Yeah, because the other ones are intros to F-sharp, which are interesting, but the third one is specifically about F-sharp on Windows Azure.
Great.
Yeah. So watch the video, kind of neat. Lots of people doing some cool stuff.
Cool. All right,
right.
so that brings us to our special guest, Jim Nakashima. I mean, David Robinson.
Yep.
Who's here to. I just think all of our guests are Jim Nakashima.
Yeah.
That's what I like
Jim's
to think.
awesome.
And David is here because he is an expert on whether or not SQL Azure is a real thing.
Yes.
And we just saw someone reference it in this blog post. But you can't believe everything you read on the internet.
Yeti. True
You know,
or
we
false?
should talk about it. People don't necessarily know who David is.
Yeah, let's
And
introduce
so
him.
we did some research before the
You
show
did.
to see what we could find about David on the internet.
dirt.
And naturally, we binged it.
We googled it on Bing, and we found what you're supposed to remember what this is.
LMO,
Is that
capital
it?
I, pound full. There it is.
That's it. So we found a picture
Of David.
of David Robinson, and we loaded it up using Zoom It, which is hosted on Windows Azure, so that we could have a deep zoom version of it.
Yep.
This is David Robinson.
Yes. And
It's a super high res photo, so you can just get right in there and get to know David
Nice.
Robinson.
yes. If you've ever wondered what David Robinson looks like up close,
That's what he looks like up close.
yeah, don't be fooled by what you see on this video.
Yeah.
That's him.
That's what he actually
You're
looks
staring
like.
into the eyes of death.
High resolution.
Apparently.
So is that what I'm going to look like? 50 years from now?
No, that's
No,
what you
that's
look like
what you
now.
actually look like. This was your post makeup
Are you
right
telling me
now.
I've never seen myself in front of a mirror?
Right, you've just never noticed.
Wow.
But this is how you actually look. So who was this really? This is
This is David Robinson.
yeah, Professor David Robinson.
Yeah,
I
he's
believe,
from MSU.
Michigan State.
It's something to do with a study on something.
I don't know. Basically, we put David Robinson into a search engine. And
That's what we
figured
found.
There could only
Was
be
that
one
the first?
person,
No, it was.
Yeah,
There was
not
no
the first.
NBA references.
but it was by far the
or-
funniest.
Or anything.
And the fact that they had a photo of this man in
In
32
super high
gigapixel.
resolution. I just don't understand. It was like that little thumbnail in some article, and then it was click here for high res version, and it's like 84 megabytes or something. Just,
So I
ridiculous.
think I need to make that my picture on in the gal.
You should.
I think
You
so.
know?
So that is David Robinson.
For anyone who doesn't know, we will post a link to this. You can find out what the inside of David's nostrils look like.
Okay.
I've never been allowed outside of the house.
Let's just leave that there and see if we can keep doing the show with it staring at us. With it's kind of hard. Let's get rid of the eyes so it's not there. Okay, I feel more comfortable now. Okay,
So for the people watching at home, you have no idea what this experience is like. Showing up here, the banter before the cameras go on. This is the most out of control thing I've ever experienced.
I can't disagree with anything.
Yeah,
that was
this
just
is
said.
out of control.
One of these days we'll probably have a uncensored version of the show.
Yeah.
Well, you did say I could curse if I wanted to.
No,
you said you
we would
would.
never say
Come
that.
on, no, that's-
come on. This is a family-friendly
We wouldn't
show.
have said anything
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely not.
It's never. It's clean. Okay, so the real David Robinson.
Please.
Tell us, does first of all, is SQL Azure? Stop doing that. It's freaking me out. Fortunately, I think for the wide camera shot, I'm sort of blocking
Yeah.
the viewers from at home from having it. But if I just sort of, there you go. There he is. Okay.
He's just staring at your back.
That's so creepy. David, there is such a thing as SQL Azure.
Of course
is that
there
correct?
is. That is
And,
absolutely correct.
SQL Azure, it's like a database.
It's
but
like a
in the
database
cloud.
in the cloud. It's a SQL Server in the cloud. Now, what episode is this of Cloud Cover?
That's like 48 or something.
76?
It's in the 70s, right?
Yeah, somewhere
You guys
around.
haven't talked about SQL Azure before?
We have, but you know what? We've never had an expert on SQL Azure here to actually tell us some of the cool stuff about it or some stuff that isn't enough.
And you expect me to be able to tell you all the cool stuff in 15, 20 minutes.
You've
It's
you've got
impossible.
30 seconds.
No, it's impossible.
Go.
I need like a whole series. A whole series.
It's
on
possible.
Right
on
here,
SQL
David
Azure.
Robinson is announcing
Part
here on Cloud Cover.
Part 1 of 11.
Of 11. Of 11.
I thought he was announcing a new show. I just thought we were going to have SQL Azure cover.
Oh, yeah.
SQL. No, we'd have
Cover doesn't really work
Yeah,
if you don't say cloud. Okay, but
data in the cloud.
look,
Data.
if everybody likes what they see in this show, we will be happy to have David Robinson on again and again and again.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And again, how many is 11? Again, and again.
Which one? The real or the real?
The real.
The real one.
Yeah.
So,
You have a demo for us, I know that.
I do.
I feel like we're not moving forward in
I'm
the show
noticing
at all.
some ear hair too, you know?
Yeah, look, all right, that's it. There's no more David
He's
Robinson.
gone.
He's gone.
Distractions
Okay.
are now
no more
gone.
distractions. Yeah, what would you like to show us
So,
about SQL
so
Azure?
yes, it's real. There's lots of stuff I could show you. One of the things we get a lot of times is, people Microsoft Access, right? What do you think
Yep.
about Microsoft Access?
I love it. I use it for everything that I do.
It's a great tool, right?
Yeah.
And we find lots of companies today, they have tons and tons and tons of Access databases. And they say, you know what, I have this resource sitting on somebody's desktop. I want to go ahead and be able to share it across my enterprise.
They run the entire companies on Access.
No,
now.
there's a lot of companies that do this.
Yeah.
So
I
one
used
of
to do
the tools I'm going to show you is the ability to take a Microsoft Access database and kind of cloudify it. And take that, convert it, move all the data, the schema, up to the SQL Azure, and actually modify the actual Access database running on the client so that I can actually access the data up in the cloud.
So I'll be running Access here. All my data will be off in the cloud.
Exactly.
Which means the guy next door in the other office may also be
Exactly.
using that.
It also means it's highly available, unlike your
Full
desktop.
time. Exactly.
Although I can't use it without my desktop.
You could get a laptop, though.
That's true.
Yeah, as long as your data's safe, really. Data is
Yeah,
90%.
the important thing is, is I'm not going to lose the data because my laptop drive failed
Yeah.
or something like that, which is...
And you could have actually a pretty hefty Access database, right? At this point, SQL Azure supports up to 50 gigabytes.
It does.
Yeah. Now, are there any plans to go higher than 50 gigabytes?
There are. We've talked about it publicly that there will be larger databases. We've talked about some of the sharding support we're looking to build into the system. If you look at some of the PDC talks we gave last year, we detailed some of the thinking around that. So
Right.
definitely, there's much more to come as far as database size is concerned.
Okay.
But you got to also keep in mind that the model of the cloud is not really scale up; it's more scale out.
Right.
So
Right.
it's more think about sharding, partitioning your workloads.
And we
things
don't have like 128 CPU or 32-way servers up there serving SQL Azure.
No, they're
they're built
commodity servers.
purposely with commodity hardware to keep our price point low.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. This is great. So
Let's see it.
in the demo, let's just
So
take a look.
wanna
before we
see-
go to
I
the
don't
demo,
believe
because
you.
I know
I don't
how
actually
it
think you can do it.
Hold on, before the demo, I know you're really excited. You told me how much you love Access before I got here. Just want to call a couple other things out first. So if you go out to windowsazure.com/SQL Azure, we've rebranded and reworked some of the marketing pages because we got a lot of feedback from people saying, hey, you know what? I can't find content. I can't find the stuff I need to go ahead and onboard. So we went ahead. We modified this, and now it's much more approachable for people. So we have some product information, some videos, white papers, and if you look at the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you can actually get a free trial now of SQL Azure. So you can just walk up and get right on the platform, start playing with it. Really, really great stuff.
I like that there's so much fine print on that little free trial.
It's
Base amount with no commitment, usage and excess charge. Yeah, I guess that's the fine print, right? Which is that if you sign up for this free trial and then use more than the amount that you're sort of allotted in that free trial, you'll pay for the extra sort of stuff.
What if you go to SQLazure.com? Does it resolve to this?
That I
Does
don't
that
know.
work? Do we have SQL Azure?
Surely
we have
to own
SQLazure.com.
that. Uh-oh.
I'm afraid to type it in. Let's not do it.
Yeah, what if someone else owns it?
Yeah, what if it goes somewhere
No,
else?
I'm
Somewhere
pretty sure
bad.
we have to have that. Let's do it.
Okay,
Live on the
fine.
edge.
Uh-oh.
This is just needless. There's no benefit at all to this. We're just doing it just to see. Just because Brian likes to live on the edge.
It's got to go back to
SQLazure.com. Is it done? No, it's loading. Look at that. No.
Oh, you binged it. I don't know why.
I binged it, which, of course, the first hit
Is SQL Azure.
is the right thing.
Were you looking for SQL.azure.com?
Which is and that's the portal, right? That's
Yeah.
the right. So
You're back to
it's
where
actually,
you were.
so it's actually that's kind of nice. That is quite likely what I meant.
SQL.azure.com.
Yeah.
Cool.
But anyway, so
minus dot.
we got this right, and the free trial sounds awesome.
So something for people to definitely check out.
And is that what this is? Is
That's
this the
what that
page
is.
on the free trial
Exactly.
stuff? Right. Cool. And what do you get in there? You get a 1 gig
You get a 1 gig.
Web edition, right?
for no charge.
So what is the difference between web edition and a business edition?
So today, the only differences are purely size. The web edition database you can have either 1 or 5, and then the business edition either 10, 20, 30, 40, up to 50.
Right.
So that's the only differentiator today. In the future, as you think about other SQL Server platform products coming up to being moved to the cloud, further differentiating depending on what SKU,
Right.
where those products will.
And I can move
will
between
show up.
one, so I can start today in the web edition, I can move to the business edition.
Exactly. Just
Yeah,
do an
and-
alter database.
Alter database.
Yep.
I seem to remember
Max
on this
size.
show we showed
You didn't- we
a
never
blog
did.
post that
blog
we did.
post, but
We didn't
never
actually
did
do it. That's right, we didn't do
so
it.
we don't know if it's real.
I mean, but you just paste that SQL and it works.
We tried that once before.
and it didn't work.
Didn't
okay.
work.
I seem to recollect that. I seem to.
That was a different thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is true.
I think David Aiken was responsible for that when he worked on something for 30 minutes for 2 months.
I'm gonna go ahead and blame David Aiken. Cool.
So let's go back
So
to.
you can use it for free, which means I could take my Access database of 1 gigabyte or smaller,
Yes.
Which is really
and
big.
for free for the next month, just run it in the cloud.
You
and do
can,
it.
but if you think about it, when people are going to go ahead and just try it out, prototype, do things like that,
Yep.
they'll fit in that 1 gig.
Yeah, a gig is actually a pretty big
Database, yeah.
Yeah.
It's databases vary greatly in size from things that are really small to things are really freaking huge.
Yeah.
But 1 gigabyte is actually a lot of data. So
Especially if you're not putting binary in it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have, like, what
I like to serialize all my data to XML.
What confuses people, though, I think, is they look at their databases today and they're like, oh, yeah, I have a terabyte database. And you're like, okay, but how much of it is, like, pictures and videos that you file stream on? And they're like, oh, yeah, like, 200K.
Yeah.
like, well, maybe you're going to be fine with SQL Azure.
Yeah.
And so you have to keep that in mind. Look at the mix of the content that you're actually going to store. And the other is remember that sometimes when people move their applications in the cloud, it's not you just don't forklift the entire thing necessarily. Sometimes people say, look, I'm going to move a portion of this app for a period
Like these
of time.
are the tables that I need.
Yeah,
for my
these are the
web,
tables
whatever.
I need. And it turns out we have this
I don't need the rest
fantastic
of the stuff.
service, DataSync.
I've heard of that too.
Yeah, DataSync can move on premises to the cloud, or will be shortly.
Well, DataSync is not really designed to do just one-time movements. It's more for the synchronization.
Yeah, they're right. That's the,
Yeah.
So we got to make sure we draw that line, for
Sure.
what tool you use when.
You could use BCP. We know that.
SSIS.
SSIS. Which
SQL
other
FRGL.
FFmpeg?
Everybody was saying letters. I just felt left out.
Okay. Now we've cut into David's demo time so much. Let's let him actually demo to us.
Please, yes. Because I still don't believe that you can do it.
You have to beg. You know, you made me wait.
No, I'm not going to beg. I flat out don't believe it's possible.
Fine.
And so why would I beg you to do it? You're just going to be embarrassed when you can't actually get it done.
All right. So to show the folks at home,
Yep.
here we have a database, right? It's actually a baseball stats database for Little League.
This is real data too.
This is actual real data.
I know whose kids these are,
Really?
or whose data this was based on.
Okay.
So Ryan, I know you have a little girl. Do you have any other children?
I have 2 little girls.
2 little girls, no boys.
Nope.
I have 4 little girls, no boys. What about children?
I've got no girls, no boys.
No girls, no boys.
Yep.
I have
Lots of
one
pets.
other.
He actually has 32 pets.
Yeah.
Cats.
Well,
And
no
they have no
children.
gender.
Well, no children that you know about.
No children that I am aware of.
Yes, you know they're probably out there.
If
running
you
around.
are watching the show and you know that I have some children somewhere, please contact us on Twitter at Cloud.
And make sure it's public too.
Yeah, a public @reply is the right way to let me know.
Steve, you're
So
my
I
daddy.
actually had a question about that before we go ahead to this demo.
Yeah. No, wait. What? Before we go into the
no,
demo.
before the demo. Just a
Okay,
question for
yes.
you. Isn't Twitter like a real time type thing?
It's a conversation.
Yes.
Right? These shows are recorded.
Yeah.
So how do you have a real time conversation on a recorded show?
No,
We don't
for the next
have
week.
yeah. I mean,
Oh,
we
it's
just
for
look
next
at them.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
It's not like right now. I'm not like checking Twitter now to see.
I actually am.
How awesome would that be?
Did anyone reply? We haven't. The show's gonna go
Recorded
live in 2 more
show.
days.
That would be hot. If you could pull that off.
Yeah. We do.
We're pushing the bounds of technology right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a laptop on the show.
Right. We're actually asking Twitter if we can get access to the future stream.
Yeah.
So if we can actually get the tweets before they're tweeted, then we could do it.
Work on that. Work on that.
Okay.
So here in the
Here's
demo, I
baseball.
have a baseball stats database, and notice that I'm using all local tables here.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and close this.
That's a pretty database. Who
It
did
really
that?
does look nice.
That's ridiculously
Not me.
pretty.
Not me. It's the Access guys did this.
Wow.
Wow.
So they're much prettier.
beautiful.
They're much prettier than we are. You know. So if I go ahead and close this,
Well, we saw the picture of David Robinson. It's pretty.
listen, you keep on interrupting. You
No,
want me to do
we're
the
not
demo or
going-
not?
I still don't believe you can do it.
All right, so here we go. So we have something called
This is
SQL
bull.
Server Migration, assistant.
Yes.
And they come in multiple flavors. And if the readers, if the audience wants me to come back, I
Yep.
can actually show you another demo. Not today, because I'm not prepared. But I could show you another demo where we can actually start migrating databases from other cloud providers up to Azure.
Is this a migration assistant something that's free, or does it?
It is free.
what
You
does it
download
ship
it. You know,
Okay.
I'm sure the guys in editing could put up a nice link somewhere to where to go.
No,
get
I'll put it. I'll put
Or you
it for
put it
sure.
up
Yeah,
on,
we'll put it
on
in the
the
notes.
show.
Yeah. So
Because
people can actually click it.
I'd like to know where to get this.
Yep.
But there's multiple flavors of this for depending on what you want to migrate from and to.
Yep.
So
I
this
like
one's-
Rocky Road.
You do?
That's a good flavor.
I don't like stuff in my ice cream. I just like plain ice cream. Just multiple different flavors, but
All right.
no chunks. But
Fair enough.
so if we go into the tool, and notice the first thing we got presented with is a nice, pretty wizard, and it has multiple steps for us to go ahead and actually do this migration. So if I go ahead and click next, the first thing it's going to ask me to do is, what are you migrating to? And so there's a couple options here. Couple meaning two, SQL Server and SQL Azure. Today we're going to talk about SQL Azure, obviously, because we're trying to prove that it's a real thing. I'm going to go ahead and click that. I'm going to go ahead and click next. And then the next thing it's going to ask me to do is add the Access database I want to go ahead and convert. So pretty simple stuff. Click Add Database, choose the baseball stats database I had a second ago. I'm going to go ahead and click Next. It's going to go ahead and analyze that database, and if I wanted to, I can actually go ahead and migrate only certain objects over at this point.
Does it do like stored procedures or anything like that? I forget. Does Access do that? They don't have that. They don't have stored procedures.
Access
right?
doesn't, I believe.
No.
Right?
So does
it's
it? Does
not
it,
an issue.
But it does queries.
It does queries.
Saved queries. Does it
Yep.
migrate those?
It does.
Okay, cool. Sorry to interrupt. I was just.
No,
this
no.
is thrilling.
This is not just about the people watching at home, but it's about you too. I want to help you.
I don't even think it's about the people who are watching at home.
It's
I'm
just
pretty
about
sure
you.
This is just about us. Yeah, we like to learn things. We have special guests on the show. They tell us
so,
stuff.
so the thing is, like, there's stored procedures in the database world, and then there's Access kind of stored procedures, which I don't even remember anymore. I used to.
But all
develop
that
them.
stuff still
Yeah.
runs client side.
Yeah.
It doesn't migrate
Yeah.
those.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't change them into stored procedures that run up on the cloud.
No.
Okay,
Not that I'm
that's-
aware of. I could be completely wrong.
That would be awesome if it
but
did.
not that I'm aware of.
That would be really cool. If just the form state and the little queries that you save that are kind of like stored procedures?
We're like converted to
Yeah,
stored procedures.
converted to
as well.
stored procedures. That would be so
That
cool.
would be.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt you there, David, but now in the future, I know you said we had SQL Server and SQL Azure. Are you going to have other providers like, say, MySQL, or is it MySQL?
MySQL, MySQL. Yeah, so there's actually a migration assistant to migrate from MySQL over to the SQL Server.
But not to Access.
But not to Access.
Okay, that's good, because that would not
There's
make
no
sense.
just all pairs, any to any sort of
combination.
migration.
I'd like to migrate from MySQL to Access to SQL Azure.
That would be really hard.
Yeah.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know,
Sorry.
I still have to prove him wrong that SQL.
No, I don't believe it. It's not gonna
exists. Okay, so if I
There's
go
no
ahead and
chance.
click next,
Yes.
now I'm going to have the opportunity to actually connect up to SQL Azure. So I'm going to type in my password.
What is your password?
Got that.
Did everybody catch that?
Yeah, make sure we bleep out the what he just said,
Note
because
to
that was
editor,
not a password.
When he
folks.
said his password,
That was dirty.
Increase the volume on his microphone.
he said
So-
it again.
Can't believe it.
So it's going to go ahead and connect up to SQL Azure. I'm going to say yes. And then I want to create a new database, right? So I already have an existing database out there called Pubs. I'm going to create a new database for this.
So you could choose an existing one, and what would happen? Would
It'll
it
just
overwrite?
it won't overwrite. It'll throw errors if the objects already exist.
Okay.
Or it would, if they didn't exist, obviously, it would just move them
Just
in there.
merge them.
Right.
So I'm going to type in. I'm
So
gonna
you have an
spell-
Access Northwind AdventureWorks database.
Yep.
So all those tables are fine.
Access Northworks.
Northworks. Contoso Northworks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to name my database baseball. I can have the opportunity here to choose what size database.
Yep.
It's a baseball database, baseball stats, Little
50
League.
gig.
It shouldn't really need
Just to
a
be safe.
50 gig. No, you know
We
what?
should actually shard it by player and put 150 gig database for each player.
You
I
could.
think.
You have maximum, scalability at that point. What do you
That's-
think?
I think we need that.
I'm going to go ahead and click create. Database created successfully. Thank you.
I don't believe it.
Now it's set
That's
it
just
up.
that's just a little message that pops
All right,
up no
so-
matter what happens.
So just to prove you wrong, let me actually go ahead and
Don't prove me wrong.
say refresh.
It's okay if you suggest that I might be wrong.
You
but
might be
just
wrong. 'Cause
Don't
look,
prove it.
did you see before the refresh there was a Pubs database? After the refresh, there was a
Baseball database.
baseball database.
Yep.
It's
It
real.
just tells me that he did it in advance.
It's
and he hadn't hit
real.
refresh yet.
It's real.
We don't know that the
what I think.
wizard actually caused that to happen.
So I'm going to go ahead and click next now.
There's no proof.
So what I have the opportunity now to do is click on link table. So what that's going to actually go ahead and do is not only is it going to migrate the database and all the objects inside the Access database, but it's going to modify the Access application. And all the stuff it's moved, it's going to add it as linked tables.
Right.
So that way the Access database continues to, the Access application continues to function, but it now be pointed up to SQL Azure.
Does it link up the forms to the linked tables
does.
for you automatically? That's awesome.
I finally caught you though because this thing says SQL Server everywhere, not SQL Azure.
So-
I'm just gonna go ahead and say, proven right. You can't actually do this. This is fake. There's just SQL Server.
For complete fairness, this is the SQL Server.
Dave's never going to want to come on
migration
this show again.
assistant.
Thanks,
We
Steve.
may invite him back, but he's not coming.
But the thing is that it's a SQL Server migration
Yeah.
assistant. Okay, keep in mind that SQL Azure is SQL Server in the cloud.
I think that's important for people to know.
It's actually right. The fact that I shouldn't actually care at this point of what it's doing with the Access database and whatever. It actually makes no difference that it's SQL Azure versus
No,
SQL Server.
it's
Presumably that's just a
SQL.
connection
It's
string
SQL.
somewhere. Right?
That's it.
And so it should really say like SQL Star.
Yeah.
We should just start saying
SQL Star.
SQL Star.
Server.
SQL plus
Did you
Azure,
just create a
same
new
thing.
brand?
Yep.
SQL Star.
SQL Star.
SQL Star.
Yeah.
SQL
Someone go
Asterisk.
register SQLstar.com.
So I'm going to go ahead and click next. And what it's doing now is it's going to go through all the different database objects. It's going to convert them over. It's going to migrate the objects, migrate the data, update the Access database. And in a moment, once it finishes, now what it's going to go ahead and actually do is go ahead and synchronize all the data. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then in a moment, it's going to pop up and ask me if I want to go ahead and persist my my database password inside the Access application.
Okay.
Because it's got to save it in clear text. You know, depending on
Right.
what ID I'm using to do the migration, I might want to have a user with read-only access,
Right.
being persisted. You know, it might be a security concern for me persisting a password. You know, so it's something to keep in mind.
I don't see an issue with saving your password in plain text.
You don't?
Sounds
No,
good.
Seems like
I
a
don't
reasonable
see
thing
what the
to do.
problem is.
So here we go.
I don't believe in SSL either.
Yeah.
I think that's a myth. If I look at it on my browser, it doesn't look scrambled.
Shut up! I'm typing my password in wrong here.
Oh, it's pass at word 1, I think. Yeah. Just to help you out there.
I think it was SQL Azure Rocks.
That's my other password. That's my bank account password. So now it's say you're going to persist.
This
you
is
want
what
to
you're
do
right.
it.
This is the confirmation.
I want to go ahead and do it. Yes. I go next. It's going ahead and doing all the updates to the Access database. It's just about done. You are about to be proven wrong, sir.
No, I'm still skeptical.
Listen,
I want to see the converted database.
Yeah, I want to see Access open and working.
now
That's
we're
what I wanna
done. Now
see.
we're done, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click close. I'm going to close out of this thing. I've run this demo probably 3 dozen times. I don't need to save it, so I'm going to save.
Look, 11. It was an 11 part. He did it 11 times
part
just
series.
just for you, Ryan.
I'm going to click no. 11 months. I just got that. I'm a little slow on the uptake, but I just got that.
That's all right. We'll edit it so it looks like you got it right away.
Oh.
It was actually, for the folks at home, it was 3 minutes between when that joke was made and when he said, "I
It was
just got
actually
that."
more. It was actually like 15.
But
actually.
we're just gonna cut that stuff out.
So now, watch what happens when I load that up.
Now this is the same Access. You double click the exact same thing because
Yep.
it's actually been modified, right?
Exactly,
It's not that
so
it created some new thing.
It's been modified. So if you look now, all the tables I had are they've now created link tables. So I'm now actually working on this Access database, and the data is stored up in the cloud.
Right.
So I can now take this Access. It's still a database, but this Access application, I can give you a copy, and we can all manage our baseball Little League stats together. How awesome is that? You know?
Okay, there you have it, folks. If you want to use SQL Azure to manage your Little League teams, David Robinson has the app.
That's actually, this is really cool.
It is,
and I admit I was wrong. It is apparently possible to do this. I think it's pretty cool. I'm amazed at how automated the process was.
It actually is pretty easy.
I wonder if is the process worse when you're doing something like MySQL to SQL Azure? Where
It's the same exact process.
there aren't
Well,
features
what about
that
the
are in
features
one
of the
that aren't.
database? Yeah, are there any features in Access? Like, well, I'm sure the SQL Server probably supports all the features of Access.
That's what I'm thinking is that SQL Azure and SQL Server are sort of a superset of what Access
Yeah.
can do. Well, modular the client stuff, but that's remaining here, right?
Right.
Well, I feel like MySQL and SQL Azure, I don't know if there are things that don't match up.
If there
quite
are
right,
things, during the wizard, it'll actually warn you for those incompatibilities and say whether or not you
So there are a
want
couple things where you can decide, like, okay, fine, I don't want that index, I guess,
Exactly,
or something
exactly.
like that.
Yeah, I don't want that row that has.
Yeah, I didn't need
security
that row.
numbers.
Right, that row has a weird letter in it. We just don't like it, so just
drop it. Drop the
that
whole
guy.
table.
Let's just kick this guy out of the Little League because we can't fit his name in that table.
So that's it for today's demo.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I think anybody who has an Access database and has a hankering to make it a little more collaborative, also
but it's
also
not-
put it under control
It's not
of
only
the IT.
that. Now that data is up in the cloud, you can go do a Python thing or whatever you do on the other cloud
Whatever the
shows.
kids do these days.
You can
Yeah.
actually access that data now. It's up in the cloud. It
Right,
doesn't matter.
right. In fact, we've gotten it out of Access to some extent because now you can go use all sorts of other tools against it and do
Right, you
do
can
other
report
things.
against
I
it.
go build an ASP.NET app, put it up in Windows Azure that
I could
produces
use
something.
Link to
I could
SQL.
do-
I could use the Entity Framework on this.
You could.
Model first development.
EF.
Yeah.
Great. That's cool. So I think that brings us to our favorite time
Which is
in
the
every
tip of the
episode, which is the tip of the week, which means, of course, Bob is going to have to put something together
Yeah.
as an introduction to the tip of the week.
There's no catchy jingle like tip of the week. Nothing.
I think that's
That's
part
it.
of it
Was
now.
that? Do that louder.
No.
Darn it! It was good enough. So let's take that intro, that jingle. I think we should take a picture of David Robinson.
Yeah.
No, the
and work
other
that
David
in there
Robinson.
somewhere.
Nose hair, David Robinson.
Put in the best David Robinson picture you can think of,
Yeah.
Bob. And let's have that as sort of our intro to the tip of the week. So with that, here is our tip of the week.
Tip of the week. Tip of the week. Tip of the week. Tip of the week.
That was lovely.
All right.
Music to my
Can't-
ears.
Yeah, loved it.
I enjoyed it. What is our tip of the week this week, Ryan?
Well, it's really about getting better performance from your SQL Azure database, or at least maximizing the chance to have better performance from your SQL Azure database. And it has to do with co-locating your data.
Yep.
Now, there's a couple reasons you want to do this. Always, whenever you put your data closer to your compute, latencies go down, and you get better performance. You get less chance of timeouts, things like that, which would cause a connection to break and you have to retry. But also there's another reason, and it's has to do with the scratch.
It's money.
Money, that's right. If you decide to put SQL Azure in one data center and your compute in another, which might seem like a good idea at first, you're actually going to pay for the bandwidth in between data centers. And that's something you need to keep an eye on. A lot of people, what they don't realize when they go to deploy is that I think the names are fixed now, but at one point in time, the names on the SQL Azure deployment where you choose your logical server to locate it was slightly different text, I think, than Windows Azure deployments.
Yeah.
So there was actually, I think we said Southwest, and they said like South Central or something like that.
Yeah.
Forget exactly how that worked, but I think we fixed them up.
I think it's
at this
all mapped
point.
now, right?
I think we're pretty good.
It's to pick the exact same.
Yeah, so if you're using an affinity group like my awesome affinity group, know where that's actually located, because if that affinity group in Windows Azure is in the South region or North region or one of the European or Asian locations, you want to go and choose a corresponding location for SQL Azure. And today, SQL Azure is in all the same data centers. So you have the ability to co-locate your SQL Azure databases with your compute.
And one thing to be careful of is don't choose like US anywhere.
Yes.
When you go deploy your Windows Azure thing, if you're then going to do SQL Azure, because then Windows Azure is just going to choose a place for you. It's going to put all the same, your affinity group is all going to be together, but your SQL Azure database doesn't belong to that affinity group in the same way. SQL Azure, you're going to have to choose specifically where do you want it to run. So make sure you're choosing a very specific location, not a US anywhere or Europe anywhere or Asia anywhere.
Exactly.
So stay away from those ones and then just choose the exact same place in both of those. Then they'll be together, they'll be happy, they'll have low latency, you won't be
Friends
charged for that bandwidth. Unlike this baseball thing that we did where we're running access here and SQL Azure in the cloud, which means you will have latency between those. You'll have bandwidth through there.
There, some applications with that latency, they run great. Just like the
I
Access
assume
app.
our baseball statistics are still.
Do you know how
happy
you
and
can
fast.
actually test the latency? You can actually see
No.
what
How
Ping,
can I do that?
Trace route.
next time.
Oh,
I can actually show you. Next time, I could show you how you can actually do like a SQL ping.
He's buying a ticket on the show.
He's messing with us now.
I know.
See that?
Wow.
But it's actually a really good technique because we find,
First
people,
of his 11 appearances.
Yeah.
we find a lot of people outside the country, in in Europe and Asia Pacific and whatnot, they have a hard time picking the data center to go to because they think, it may be geographically close to me, but there might be a fiber cable that runs, up the, up the ocean. So this is, gives
But
people
my
a way.
computer actually has a direct fiber line over to North America. So.
But you're in North America.
No. This was the hypothetical guy who's in this other location.
What location would he be in?
I don't know. Whatever you said. What did you say?
Asia Pacific.
Asia Pacific.
maybe?
Yes, that's where I am.
And we probably have 5 more CDN locations at this point.
Right by now, probably.
Yes.
So I think it's high time we end this episode.
Yes.
We should remind people that if you are aware that I have any progeny, please tell us on @CloudCoverShow on
Most
Twitter.
importantly.
Or if you want to comment on the show or let us know what we should do in the future or beg David to come back and tell us this technique that he wouldn't tell us.
I actually have a request. If somebody does know about, a child of yours that,
Yes.
you may not be aware of.
A Windows Azure love
Please
child.
send a picture of this child. Please, I would love to see, little marks looks like.
We'll have that in another episode.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
A little collage.
Until next week, thank you very much.
And thank you, David.
Oh,
Thanks for
thanks
being here.
guys.
Yeah. Bye.